And good evening and welcome to the Rutherford County School Board. 22nd of a month has given us considerably unusual weather, but tonight is a lot better than it was last night. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, led tonight by Board Member Aaron Holliday.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance. I don't think so.
Well, that's the loudest pledge we've had in a while. If the audience and a board, if you would join the board in a moment of silence, please, it would be appreciated. And thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If we could adjust the agenda, I'm just not able to wait for the performance of the Roy Waldron Elementary Drama Group and would love to see them first off.
Second from Mr. Blair. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Director, we've got we got a lot of special guests in this audience, don't we? But we've got one that we really enjoyed. Well, actually, we enjoyed the other one last year, too. But anyway, Roy Waldron is here tonight, and I know you want to introduce him.
And Dr. O'Kane is here with us tonight. So, Dr. O'Kane, will you please step up to the mic and kind of tell us about your troupe tonight? It's great.
Well, thank you all for having us tonight. Tonight's a very special time. The Roy Waldron Drama Team has been in existence since 2004. And this year is the most exciting year because we have our very own stage that we're able to perform on. This year we've been working on the musical Annie Jr. It's about a 75-minute musical, and they just had 6 full performances this past weekend. Roy Waldron housed over 1,000 people who came and saw the show over the weekend. And we're very excited that tonight you'll get to see about 15 minutes of that. But just to give you a little more about these children, back in January, they attended the Junior Theater Festival. We are one of only 6 elementary teams that attend, and we compete against students of all ages. And this year, we're very pleased to come home with the Excellence in Ensemble Award. So that was a pretty exciting moment for us. And in our group, we were recognized with several students. So if you could just stand up or wave. My friends that were all-stars, can you stand up and wave? We have 2 friends that were asked to go to New York City this summer and perform in a brand new musical. So we're very excited. You'll get to see those 2 friends featured tonight. We had 6 friends asked to work to audition for a choreography DVD, which means they would go to New York City this summer and they would learn choreography with a Broadway choreographer, and it would be published for schools, any school that buys a Broadway Junior show to do. So we had 8 friends that were nominated for that. Will you all stand up or wave? So that was pretty exciting. We had 2 friends that were selected to do the Broadway Slam, which is they went with a director and a choreographer and a music director they did not know, and in 1 hour they got to perform for over 6,000 people. So my 2 Slam participants, will you stand up and wave? Our President Roosevelt, yes, lovely. And our whole group got to perform 15 minutes of Annie Jr., so it was a great experience for everybody, and we are looking forward to 2018 for that. Our team is comprised of 45 students, grades 2 through 5. And Annie Jr. is just a fun story. It is your traditional Annie. And our kids, I think we're ready to perform about 15 minutes for you all. So thank you so much for letting us come today.
Got no clothes to speak Don't you want to throw the towel in? It's easier than putting up a fight. No one's there when your dreams at night get creepy. No one cares if you grow or if you shrink. No one cries when your eyes are wet. From the crying, you would think this place is sing. Oh, empty belly life, rotten smelly life, full of sorrow life, no tomorrow life. Santa Claus we never see. Santa Claus, what's that? Who's he? No one cares for you a smidge when you're in an orphanage. It's a hard knock life. You'll stay up till this sun shines like the top of the Chrysler building. Get the whiskers from her chin. Jab her with the safety pin. Make her drink a Mickey gin. I love you, Miss Hannigan. It's a word. Screw the bell. I said it's a word. It's a hard knock for us. It's a hard knock life for us. No one cares for you a smidge when you're in an orphanage. It's a hard knock life. It's a hard knock life. It's the hard knock life. Good afternoon, Miss Hannigan. Yes. I'm Miss Farrell, private secretary to Oliver Warbucks. The Oliver Warbucks, the millionaire? Mr. Warbucks has decided to invite an orphan to spend the Christmas holidays at his home.
What sort of orphan did he have in mind?
Well, she should be friendly and intelligent.
Mississippi, capital M-I-double-S-I, double S-I, double P-I. Mississippi.
And cheerful.
You shut up. And how old?
Age doesn't really matter. Say 7 or 8, 5, 10, 11. Yes, 11 was just fine. Oh, and I almost forgot. Mr. Warbucks preferred red-headed children.
11? A redhead? Sorry, we don't have any orphans like that.
How about this child right here?
Annie? Oh, you don't want her.
Annie, would you like to spend the next 2 weeks at Mr. Warbucks' house?
I would love to. Listen, you can have any orphan here, but not Annie.
Perhaps I should call this word orphan.
If it's Annie you want, it's Annie you'll get.
It's Annie I want. Now, you'll get a coat. We'll be going out.
You don't have no coat.
Then we'll buy her one.
Dr. O'Kane, do you anything else you'd like to? That was fun.
Just thank you so much. It's Musical in Schools Month, so this is kind of a very appropriate time for this to happen. And so we're just very thankful. These children have worked all year, and of course I don't do this by myself. My co-director Sharon Stickle is with us, and one of our assistant directors, Ms. Walker, is here. And we have parents help with costumes and props and sets, and we're just glad to be here. This is a great year for us.
For 13 years, this has been going on and growing, and it really brings the Laverne community together. The collaboration of local merchants as well as Carpe Artista, a North Rutherford arts initiative that was instrumental in helping out this year. Fellow board members, thank you again for the inclusion of a stage as part of the Roy Waldron expansion. This group puts it to use in such a powerful way. Students, excellent job. The things that you're learning, stage presence, even when your back is turned and you're helping to frame the stage, you do it so well and with such enthusiasm. Your confidence is going to pay off in the future. In Laverne, which I noticed this week is the most diverse city in all of Tennessee, and you certainly represent that. What a wonderful, joyful presentation.
I think I can partially speak for the board too, and then they're welcome to say whatever they like, but that was sensational. Again.
I think Mr. Estes and Mr. Hodge and Mr. Young ought to have to pay for those front seats.
I don't think Annie's ever met anybody quite like Jim Estes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And we'll look forward to next year.
We do too. Thank you so much.
Board, if you would look at your agenda, please, and tell the audience that we have already discussed a number of things on here at our work session last night, and that includes the approval agenda. And there were no questions last night, and I need a motion to approve the. Thank you, Mr. Blair, and a second, and Ms. Moore, I believe. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the consent agenda, which is number 5.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second?
Second.
I think that's Mr. Hodge. Any comments or questions there? If there are none, I'm sorry, Mr. Estes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's right, you had a question last night, didn't you?
softball and baseball.
Softball and baseball, the two coaches.
Then, Mr. Tackett was here today. Let's take those two off tonight until we hear more about that. We had two that season's already started, so.
Well, I don't know anything about who they are or what schools or whatever, but if we don't generally enforce the rules, then there's no reason to
You
have
know
them.
anything, Mr. Tackett, about those two? We got this list from you, and I just didn't know.
What was sent to the AD was as long as those applications were in my hands by March the 1st, I would see to it that they would follow through with today being the deadline for the last time we approved anything for the spring. So according to what they have been told, and those were in my hands by March the 1st to be approved. So
These two names on
they were, yes. They just weren't able to, we weren't able to get through the process for that last board meeting, but this.
And you're satisfied that the coaches in all sports are aware there's a deadline,
That's correct.
and they met it this time.
That's correct.
The fingerprinting and all of which has to be done is probably what you're dealing with, all the other background stuff.
Okay, you all right, Mr. Estes?
Sure, as long as Mr. Tackett had them, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's try again. The number 5, approval of the consent agenda, we had a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, aye, thank you. Number 6, excuse me, I beg your pardon, the visitors. Have any visitors? I don't think people like us anymore. They never come anymore. Okay, which brings us to number 7, where we get to recognize another state champion, something that we have already done, I don't know how many times this year at various places, but we certainly enjoy doing this. And you want to introduce Coach Kaufman?
Would be fine. We got, it's not many nights that you get to have students going to New York City this summer. We've got AAA state champions. We've got the AAA Miss Basketball here with us tonight, and we got a National Coach of the Year. Mr. Nance is an assistant principal at Riverdale High School. I typically give administrator the first shot at it. Do you want to come up and say anything, if you would, tonight?
I'd really rather hear from Crystal Horton if we could.
I'm glad.
She's the only Hall of Famer here, as far as I know. But anyway,
She's great.
Thank you, Mr. Nance. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to appreciate the board, inviting us to come and recognize these young women because it's been a sensational year, a couple years, going back to back. We have a Naismith Coach of the Year with Coach Kaufman, Miss Basketball with Miss Hayes. She's also a Gatorade Player of the Year, and she's also McDonald's All-American. So those are fantastic accolades for her. And so it just kind of sums it all up that they were 34 now, so this entire season. So I'm going to turn it over to Coach Kaufman and let him get a little bit more about the season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all having us tonight. Got some great people behind me. They're outstanding basketball players, obviously. I mean, you guys have seen their accolades, and you spoke about those things. I do want to say a couple things about them that are non-basketball, and then I'll be short, sweet, and simple. But outstanding individuals. Their drive is such that you want as a coach. That's not something I had to instill. I was very fortunate to come to this community 2 years ago and be a part of this great school system and be a part of these great girls behind me. They are beyond, they love it. We come in and we're talking about things that happened in an NBA game the night before. I mean, girls usually don't do that. And that's usually not. And, we're talking about a situation that happened. They're coming in going, Coach, I watched Kentucky last night. They were running our Kentucky set. I'm not real smart, so I had to steal a couple things along the way. But it's really a unique situation when you have this many talented players at one time in one program. It's special. I can say that wholeheartedly. For me, I've been very fortunate not only to get to coach people who have the same passion about the game as me, but also have staff that is very driven in their own particular lives as well. Whether that be Coach Horton, that was mentioned earlier by Jeff, and it goes right on down to Coach Spurlock. We have a great supporting cast, beyond. Our staff, our administration, the same way, whether it's Mr. Nance or our principal, Mr. Nolan, and our other assistant principals. They're just very supportive of athletics. They want to see these kids succeed and do great things. One last thing before I get out of here. These girls behind, we try to keep up with grades a little bit. And, this group behind me they're like way smarter than me. I'm a 23 on the ACT. These guys back here, they're going to rock through that. 6 of them just took it for the first time. I think that's right. Or 6 of them took it recently for sure. I know our juniors did. And we got a handful of juniors behind us. But this group has a team GPA of 3.56. And that's recognized by the state as well as being a Distinguished Achievement Award. So very proud of that fact that they strive not only in basketball, but they're great citizens, they're great students, and they're going to be great success when in whatever they choose to be.
Coach, this is on YouTube. They can go back and watch it. Do you mind if they come up and say their name and kind of come around here and we get a good picture of them?
That sounds
We've
great.
got
Let's
time
do.
to do that. Let's-
Absolutely.
You win the state
Absolutely.
championship, it's worth something.
That's great. Okay, we'll just start with, we have one senior who's not here. This is how crazy she is. Man, I had a job interview scheduled, and she's like a sports freak to some degree with her clothing. We call her, man, she said, you got the best shoe game in school. And she's got an interview right now with Hibbett Sporting Goods. So that's like a can't miss for her. So she's not with us, but we'll just start with our seniors, Anastasia, and then we'll just rip right down through our juniors, sophomores, and so forth.
Just walk by the mic and you can be hurt, and then you can go home and watch yourself. Okay? A little bit later. Just make us a line up here, and we'll. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Hayes.
Thank you.
I believe they left off something with you, too. Go ahead. I know Ms. Coffin mentioned just about everything, but I believe she was also the MVP of the state tournament. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Don't be shy.
Come on, let's go.
Hi, I'm Brene Alexander. I'm Amanda Whittington. Hi, I'm Kennedy Moore. Hi, I'm Allie Mayu. I'm Alexis Whittington. I'm Briley Puckett.
I am Hannah Edgeston.
Hi, I'm Jalen Holcomb. Hi, I'm Aislinn Hayes. Hi, I'm Alasia Hayes. Hi, I'm Madison Henniker. Hi, I'm Caitlin Worley. Hi, I'm Kayla Dale. Hello, I'm Dylan Claybrook.
Everybody?
Coach, I noticed there's still girls, a little bit of giggling. You didn't get any of that in the dressing room, did you?
You know, the crazy thing about all this, you would not believe that a word that you would describe us as would be a tough team from acting, seeing their actions away from the game. But that's the group we have. They're a fun-loving bunch, and they've got a crazy side to them, and they've got just tremendous, tremendous talents. So one quick thing, you know, I know that Jeff mentioned Annie as being a state tournament. We have 3 more that made the all-state tournament team that are present. The 2 that look alike, Alexis and Amanda Whittington. They look a whole lot alike. In fact, they're twins. And then Brene Alexander. And one other quick tidbit. We were at the region tournament this year, and I've been doing this a long time. This is year 27 for me, and I've never had this happen in 27 years, but we had our entire starting 5 make the all-region team. So that would be the 4 that I mentioned, as well as Aislinn Hayes. So just way exciting stuff, and just tremendous allocates. I know that, you know, many people like Annie get a lot of the recognition and credit because she deserves that. But these girls that are around her, man, they fit the puzzle greatly, and they're just as much a part of that success as any one of us are individually. Very proud of all of them.
Coach, thank you so much for bringing these youngsters in. I know, I doubt very seriously if you want to sit through the rest of this meeting, but you're certainly welcome to do so. I thought I would tell you that every year, and the other people on this board do this too, become a team, a doctor, and the Chamber of Commerce assigns us a team. I didn't pick my team. I've done it for years. And this year in girls, they assigned the Memphis Central. And so I met them in the lobby, and they asked me, and I said, well, and they said, we're going to play Riverdale again. I said, well, you've got a problem. And I gave him the cookies and shook his hand, and that's the last I've seen of him. But at any rate, it was a great tournament, great season. Congratulations to all you girls.
And the trophy is right in
Yeah, the trophy is right here. I hope you got a picture of that. Number 8, Mr. Director.
This is a report from the 2017 Tennessee School Boards Association Scope Student Delegates. The Tennessee School Board Association 2017 Scope, which is Student Congress on Policies in Education, conference was held at MTSU on Tuesday, March 7th, 2017. And these are the following student delegates attended. I don't think any of them may be with us tonight, but from Blackman High, Kayla Berry and Rachel Schroeder. From Central Magnet, Edgar Lozano and Ishan Patel. Eagleville High, Westina Anderson and Savannah Dye. From Holloway High, Haley Clarity and Winter Sunshine Flores. From Laverne High, Cheryl Lynn Mella and Treasure Howard. From Oakland High, Katie Wiley and Tate Chumley. From Riverdale High, Jeremy Wright and Olivia Robinson. From Siegel High, Lance Williams and Adriana Klicka. Smyrna High, Abby Harris and Sydney Sane. And from Stewart's Creek High, Elizabeth Lancaster and Zoe Gentry. And their chaperone was Jennifer Courtney from Holloway High School. And I think Mr. Blair and
Ms. Moore.
Ms. Moore was with us too.
And I've gushed about it for years, and I know y'all have grown tired of hearing from me about it, but I was pleased that Ms. Moore took a class of students, and I guess you may want to describe real quick your experience.
Well, I had a blast. It was fun and refreshing being around smart youngsters like that. A little bit humbling, too, because definitely some bright kids, but it was a lot of fun, and I think a really great opportunity for these kids that show an interest in getting involved in things like that. So very well done.
Some of the best and brightest across the state.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to see if Mr. Clardy wants to talk to us at this point. Mr. Clardy is going to give us a brief review of what could have been disastrous last night with the weather. It wasn't disastrous, but it wasn't great either. Mr. Clardy, what's our damage and how are things going?
Well, we've had a busy evening last evening, and then again today, trying to get things straightened out. And I will like to mention that Ken Curley, our Director of Maintenance, Brian Yarbrough, one of my project managers, several of the maintenance leads, Junior Douglas and Mike Walls, and the staff at the school out there, Julie Benson, and those folks did an excellent job at Christiana Elementary. We had quite a bit of damage out there with about 900 square feet of roofing blown off and one entire wing of classrooms getting wet. We had 2 of the large light poles down on the softball field out there behind the school. And then we had 2 huge trees that came down in the playground. And also some of the ceiling tile fell out because of water. We made temporary repairs on the roof today. Next week during spring break, they will be re-roofing that section of roof and replacing it completely. We cleaned water up last night, the guys did. Dried the classrooms out, put fans in there, and then technology, Steve Solomon and his team went out there today, cleaned up the computers, and set those back up and ready to go. So the teachers are coming in tomorrow to finish setting up their classrooms to get ready for class on Friday. So tomorrow, as announced by Mr. Odom and Mr. Evans, Christiana will be out of school tomorrow, and then they'll be back in class on Friday and ready to go. So we're in good shape out there. Hats off to all the maintenance crew and the engineering guys that went out there and got that cleaned up. Mrs. McLeod was in one parking lot at Riverdale, and she was forced in there. I was forced into the other parking lot at Riverdale. She was dodging trampolines, and I was dodging trees as they fell. But
Tom Delbridge was out there with y'all too today.
yeah, he was inside or in a car or something. But it got pretty rough sitting there. I was in that little Ranger truck of mine, and I wasn't sure it was gravity was gonna hold it down or not. So they had several fences down out there, sections of fence. They had some metal off the parapet blown off. They had a metal carport building down to football field stadium that was partially blown down or crushed. And there are just several little odds and ends around trees, several of those down. So that was, we're in the process of cleaning those up. We had a chipper truck out there early this morning getting that taken care of. And then at Whitworth Buchanan, we had water that came in under the doors and a little bit of excessive type water in the auditorium that came through. If you recall, those bottom sections, those floors are on slopes, so down there at the well to the outside for the exit door filled up, and the drain pipe just wouldn't handle all the water, so it went in under the door and came in. Now, there may be other issues that we don't know about yet, but they are probably all minor other than these. I know today at Blackman High School, we had an evacuation of classrooms out there today because we had a couple of valves to fail in the science lab and had a little bit of a gas leak. So we got those replaced and got those out of the way. And as far as I know, those weren't due to storm. Those things, you can go inspect them. They work great today, and then tomorrow they may fail. It's just hard to really keep a grip on those things. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
We certainly owe a debt of gratitude to the many volunteers and many of our own people that came to the rescue last night and will continue to do so the next few days. And what's really, I guess, just fantastically lucky is that of all nights, Christiana Elementary School had a meeting out there last night. And they had a number of people in the building, parents and teachers and others. And just nobody got hurt. They were there to help with taking care of everything. So we were lucky there. But the big thing is, of course, as far as I know, we had nobody in the county injured. So that's terrific.
The principal also, last night when she saw the storm and began to see some of it, she just got on the intercom and said, let's go into a drill. You had parents and kids and everybody just went into their normal drill pattern. So they did a real practice last night. So parents got to participate and see part of it. Got several emails today of people very thankful of how well it went and how they handled it. For parents and others that are listening, the fire marshal cleared us today. It's not a safety issue out there. The teachers didn't get in until almost noon. You've got textbooks gone. You've got teaching materials gone. You've got other things that they really need to work. So it was more of a human capital thing, I think, to take another day off to do it. But I don't see a safety issue there. But I just thought it was wise to give them another day to kind of get it back together emotionally and all, and instructional materials. So that's why we made that decision.
Thank you, Mr. Clardy. Any comments or questions from Mr. Clardy? I think we will know more in the next day or two, too, if we have any other major issues. But we probably would have heard about them today if anything major.
It could be the next rain.
Right. Okay. Number 9 was the Roy Waldron, and we changed the agenda, so we'll go right to swimming pools. And Mr. Tackett is with us tonight. You have some, Mr. Tackett, if you would come forward, we'd appreciate it. You have some material, I think, on your desk from Mr. Tackett about pools and schedules and so forth. And welcome, Mr. Tackett. Good to see you as always, sir.
If I may go back to volunteer coaches for just a second and give a bit of a further explanation there. I know of at least one of those, I don't have the list in front of me, was already approved at a prior school and by policy is good to go. But sometimes they're put on the agenda just to keep the record straight as to where they might be. So, and then there's one more that I know was in my hands prior to the last board meeting, but it was too late to get on the agenda. So those are the kind of things that can happen. So anytime you see those things that you have a question in your consent agenda, let me know, and I can give an explanation as to why they're there. We are certainly trying to be good stewards of not getting those people passed beyond certain times and try to get that done. As far as pools are concerned, very quickly, we do have 9 middle schools, 8 high schools that do use the 4 pools that we happen to have, which is what we do have. You see the schedule there, and one thing that doesn't show on the schedule is the number of bodies that are in the pools at those particular times, and I think that's a real issue that we need to be aware of. It's not always just the number of teams that practice, it's also the number of people that are there and how much the chemicals in the water itself can, in fact, absorb. Riverdale and Oakland Pool are older. They're a bit smaller. The Laverne and Smyrna Pool have 8 lanes instead of 6, so they can take a few more teams in to do this. Some of the scheduling this says 15-16, which is the same schedule as we are running currently now. But as you can see, the pools are used, all 4 pools are used in the morning before school, which I think is quite dedication for people to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and swim. And most of them are used till, well, at least 7 o'clock at night. One pool is used up to 8:30 at night. We really couldn't, even if the idea that we wanted to practice from 8 to 9:30 at night made sense, which I'm not sure if it would or would not, probably would not be able to do that simply because of the number of bodies in the pool would be too much for what the chemicals in the water itself could do. So we're at capacity. There could be a wiggle or change here or there if it had to be to try to get some more in. But if another middle school for sure, and we know we've got a high school that's going to come on board in 2 years, at that point in time, my thinking, and I don't know what the board's thought will be, at a point in time where we have more schools than we can use, middle school swimming probably would just have to be done away with altogether so we could just take care of the high schools itself. But that's the skinny on that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Tackett, do we have any other teams that are other than our school teams using pools?
Summer times they do. I'm not exactly sure what they do. I do know that during some of these times, Riverdale in particular, I do know has some other activities that go on in the pools. I'm sure that's true in the summertime. And obviously, if we got down to a point during the school year that any of that became of interference, schools are certainly going to take precedence. Right now, that's not an issue, but it certainly could be.
I know that the county EMS director does scuba diving at Oakland, I think, from about 8 to 10 o'clock at night as a course for that.
Board? We know we've got a problem here, and it's not just us that has this problem, but our teams have got a problem. I don't know. We've already discussed this, maybe at whatever length you want to discuss it, I don't know, but I kind of, does somebody want something from us? I know what Mr. Tackett wants, and he wants more pool space, I'm sure. Well, clearly we're out, I would think. I think with a new middle school coming on and a high school in 2 years.
Well, I'm not sure, me personally, or even for my position, as to that I'm asking for more pool space. What I do know
is that there's some proposal with the city government, county government, maybe the school board, that some aquatic center might be out there. And if it were, and the school board chose to participate in that, it would be very helpful to do that, provided we got access to that pool time for some of our teams. I mean, it's very clear, if we don't get more pool space, the swimming program for sure, the middle school swimming program it will go away within a period of time. As you can see, we have 9 middle schools that now swim, but we have several that don't. And I put out in January every year, if you anticipate having a swim team next year, let me know now. And they know in their meetings and talking with principals if we have another one or two. So many are just really trying to stay away from it from that very standpoint. They understand that they may be the breaking point to do that. But right now, for next year, we don't anticipate another team in. Next year, we'll be able to carry on. But for sure, when Rockvale High School comes on board, something's going to have to happen.
Mr. Blair?
Did you say you didn't know if there was a proposal out there, or there is a proposal?
There's discussion, for sure, between the county government, the city government, and my understanding is the school board maybe been asked to participate in that. And at the end of the day, we all know that comes back to the county government, because you don't have any money to spend. That all comes from your county commission.
Do you have any idea what kind of investment they're expecting?
I do not.
I don't think they're there. The initial call I received from Mayor Burgess, and he'd been contacted by Shane McFarland and said, we're considering building a aquatic center or something in Murfreesboro. Is the county interested? And Mayor Burgess has contacted me about information about, I don't think he realized we have as many schools that are using the swimming pools. So one of my main thing was to return to him the information about our current utilization and how many schools are participating. I've not heard back since that time, but I did inform him of how many, kind of this list that you're seeing here.
Well, as you're aware, we have other sports that are dependent upon the city, tennis in particular, for facilities. We have no tennis courts anywhere other than what the city of Smyrna and the city of Murfreesboro provide, or in Rutherford County. And they're wonderful with that. All of our schools participate. We have, I think, 8 or 9 middle schools participate. All of our high schools do. And they're using Old Fort Park. They're using Smyrna Recreation Parks out there. They've been wonderful to do that. I know that the county and the city did go into that Old Fort Park indoor facility that's out there, 16 new courts that are out there, and with the idea that Rutherford County schools would have access to those. And they've been great with that. The access is there. They make sure they clear, when we have our tournaments to be played and so forth, they clear the days that we want for that. So they've been wonderful to do that. You get into sport like golf, obviously we have to depend upon someplace else. If we have no golf courses, and that will never happen. So facilities can be an issue. With Rocky Fork coming on now, issue of where they play football, we've got that worked out. Where they're going to play soccer, that's going to be an issue. The next middle school that comes on, without another high school in place to help absorb that, it becomes an issue. So facilities, this is no surprise, is a dancing game right now.
Tell us what tell the board what your plans kind of for Rocky Fork Middle's football, because we talked about that.
Yeah, Rocky Fork Middle School, when we started looking at what made the most sense as far as where they should play football, the one thing that I talked to Stephen Luker at Smyrna Middle School, and they are the only middle school that has a field that they have to keep up and take care of. And most of you know, Jim Estes had this conversation about the softball fields, how much is involved with that. And I talked with Mr. Luker. I said, I would be willing to go to bat a bit if you would be willing to take Rocky Fork, like we couldn't tell him he had to, but I certainly want to ask first that maybe we could get the board to consider giving him a bit of help there, keep that field in at least some kind of a manageable shape. And I think I gave the numbers to Mr. Sandvik, and it's not a terribly high figure, but he was very gracious and said he would like to do that and would appreciate any help that he could get to keep that field at least in some type of playable order. So the plan right now is for Rocky Fork to play at Smyrna Middle, which takes pressure off of another high school field someplace where they already have the pressure to do. So I think that's a very workable situation, and both those principals have been good to work with on that.
Mr. Sandvik, you told us last time, and I forget the amount, but we had some money tied up the school board had some money tied up in the tennis courts, didn't we? I know the county paid for most of it, but didn't we have a little money tied up in that?
I don't believe we did. I think they handled that entirely through,
All done by the county commission?
rather than, yeah, I don't think it didn't cross at all into the school board building program.
Okay, but the agreement was, now, there was a land swap in there, and we talked about that the last time, and Mr. Estes probably knows more about that than anybody else, but there was a land swap. But the agreement was, if I recall, was that the county would build them and the city would take care of them. So as you said, we're totally out of the tennis business as far as having a tennis court that we've got to go and repaint and pave.
That's correct.
All that kind of stuff. But as Mr. Hodge pointed out last time, and others concurred with this, there's a difference between a few tennis courts and a swimming complex. It'd be much more expensive. And I do know this. I think my personal opinion, we don't have any money for that right now. Now, whether we need it or not is probably without question we do, but, and I see this as a county commission, city council, and then if we want to participate in that at some level, maybe yes, maybe no, I have no idea how this board would vote, and if a swimming team wanted to rent, lease long-term space for that, and they want to have fundraisers to pay for that, obviously I've got no problem with that. But we're going to have to find some more pool space, or, as you said, middle schools, something's going to have to go. We don't have enough water.
I mean, I think from a priority standpoint, there's no question in my mind, at least, that high schools would need to be served first to do that. If 4 or 5 middle schools raise their hand and say we need a swim team, we'd have no choice but to eliminate something. And I'm not sure that an aquatic center, frankly, would change it much. I mean, the idea of an aquatic center being built for the general public and then for them to take out 6 o'clock to 7:30 in the morning and 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night for our swim team, if you can bargain that and get that in the deal and get it in writing, then that'd be wonderful. But I'd be surprised, frankly, if when that aquatic center is built, that we would get that type of access to it.
Board comments?
I wonder if there is, though, a reason for the athletic director to survey the county and where there are swimming facilities that we may not be using. And if there is any availability for those facilities, I certainly don't wish to impose our needs on anyone else, and yet there are certainly situations all over the county where we're sharing space and there are cooperative relationships, and I wonder if there are more of those that may be available with swimming.
I know we did have some discussion with Smyrna YMCA about using space there, and there was kind of a maybe we never got to the point where we had to have it, so we didn't go down that road. But that discussion's been there. I think that would be somewhat of a possibility. I think that obviously there would be some compensation need to be taken care of, and it's certainly not, to my feeling at least, fair to say Riverdale High School has a pool so they don't have to pay for anything, but to put Thurman Francis at a pool at Smyrna YMCA that cost X number of dollars to require them to make that payment. So I think if we were able to make that kind of deal, and maybe so, you people that are in that part of the county may have some clout that direction. If the board were able to help with that or to pay for that pool time, that would buy us something. And I think that's possible to do.
Well, and I don't think it necessarily would warrant us approaching the situation with, and we're going to have to pay something, because the YMCA conducts a lot of business inside of our school buildings with after-school care, and has a considerable partnership interest with the school system, and families that are inclined to be toward, be interested in swimming and such. That's certainly a reason, perhaps, for a family YMCA. If their facilities could be the host to have the community all come and see their facility, there's certainly an opportunity there. I guess really what I'm looking for is where are appropriate facilities? Are they out there? Are they at country clubs here in town that would be philanthropic minded and interested in supporting their local school system swim team? And finally, I would say that our feedback to the county commission, the county mayor, the city council, anybody who wants to know how does the school system feel about swimming, we feel like that we could probably deliver state championships in that area as well, and will do that with the facilities that we have. However, could we do more? Can we use more? Do we need more? Yes, and how?
One more thing to put in this equation, Riverdale and Oakland's pools are almost 50 years old. At some point in time, and I've been shared with this with the Riverdale pool manager that's there. My granddaughter does swim there at times, so we built a nice relationship. And he's told me, and he said, the idea that we can get 50 years out of a pool without going in and making some type of major renovation, we're on borrowed time. And, you know, at that point in time, the board's going to have to make a decision at that point in time. Do we go to Oakland, Riverdale, not far after Smyrna, Laverne, because those pools are 15 years older than that? Are you, as a board, or your predecessors as a board, prepared to spend that type of money to keep those pools alive? Because it's going to take some investment of capital at some point in time before too very long, of significant numbers.
I think swimming is, again, an opportunity, particularly under Title IX, I believe it is, that gives access for some of our young ladies to accomplish college scholarships. I think it is a worthy investment, and as Mr. Tackett alludes to maintenance and upkeep, I think that long-term having swimming programs in our high schools is something that the leading educational institution in the state of Tennessee, Rutherford County Schools, should be a part of.
I don't think you'll have any trouble keeping your high school programs alive for a long, long time. I think it's the middle school programs that you've got right now that are very much at risk, and that needs to be considered in your process. It doesn't have to be done tomorrow, but I think you need to be prepared to understand that in 2 or 3 years, that decision will have to be made, and I don't know if you've got any options or not, but it's certainly worth right now knowing what those are, because middle school programs are at risk and will eventually be subject unless pool space is found.
Well, we have, I don't know whether we've exhausted this subject or not, but I know we haven't built a pool starting with Blackman, and we didn't build one there, Siegel, Stewart's Creek, not one in the plans at Rockvale. And I'm certain, somebody can just jump right in on top of me here, but I'm reasonably certain that the reason for that is the considerable expense, immediate and upkeep, and maybe this is not a very good thing to say, just, you know, but truth be known, pools are a headache. They really are to the administration of that school, and then eventually an upkeep to the board and to the budget. And I don't see how we can, still don't see, maybe somebody can tell me, how we could go to the county commission, and I know they're not necessarily asking us to do that. I understand that, although that was kind of what was said underneath, between the lines. Maybe we need to think about that when we've got 140 some odd trailers and we need classroom space and desk and books, and we can say, oh, by the way, we want to spend a few, whatever it is, on a swimming complex of some sort. I think the county commission will laugh us right out of the courthouse. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and perhaps I am, and I have to say this, including yourself, that there's not anybody up here that doesn't support all our athletes, regardless of the sport. All our students. I'm all for them. I got a daughter that swam at Riverdale for years. I mean, I'm there, but the money's not there. I don't think. Now, board, anybody can jump in here and support me if they'd like to do that. I'd just really appreciate it.
Have we looked at any other school districts our size or larger to see what they're doing with swimming pools, and do they have middle school programs that are swimming too?
I have not done any research. Be glad to do so.
Yeah, just
to let you
be
know
curious
what
to
that
know.
happens to be. I would, based on what knowledge I have, I'd be fairly confident to say that more school systems than not don't have swim programs to the extent that we have right now. But I can certainly survey several counties and find out for us. That won't be hard to do.
And we don't hear about it because it's not a state-sponsored sport. So
The easy thing to do is for me to go into the TSSAA's directory and see how many swim coaches are listed down at these schools. I mean, if they don't have a swim coach listed, I'm pretty sure they don't have a swim program. And I think you'd probably find most are not.
Mr. Blair?
Well, just since you wanted a little support.
Yeah, please.
I remember the last health ed meeting that we attended, and one of the commissioners looked at me squarely about the dollars we were asking for. And they certainly said yes, but they were certainly concerned about the future dollars also. And I would be just surprised that the commission would fund a aquatics complex instead of trying to replace the 146 portables that we complain about year in and year out.
Well, let me be clear with me, and then I'll answer your question, whatever. I'm not here asking the board to do any of that.
Understood.
We were approached, my understanding is there's in some discussion in how could we participate in that, and would it be helpful to us? And the answer is, yes, it would be helpful to us. One thing would be very helpful to us right now, we don't have a facility in the county that can support a properly run meet because all of our pools are in yards, and now things are all done in meters. So our county's meet has to go outside of the county to be run. So that's why an aquatic center would be helpful. But from a standpoint, is it something that I think the board should just jump on board and do? I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just trying to make sure that I let you be aware that swim programs are going to fall away if we don't in fact find some solution, or somebody doesn't find some solution. And I'm not sure that that's the right direction to go either, Mr. Blair, frankly. I'm not sure how the commission could maybe support that.
Any other questions on swimming? I've got, yes, Mr. Clardy.
Just for the record, my group managed the construction of the tennis courts for the county. We bid it out here and we built them. I remember Thane Construction built them for us as a general contractor, but I don't recall the amount that was spent on them. I've got it in my record somewhere in the office.
Nothing else on pools. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Tackett, since you brought it up, Smyrna Middle, their football, are they going to come forward with a request at some point, or asking for some help there?
They have. Mr. Sandvik has that information that, okay.
Okay. Sometime in the future here.
It wasn't a huge amount they were asking, just mainly, they don't have the additional coaches and things for the grass cutting and some of the other issues.
I've got, it's in an email. I'll be more than glad to send the email to every board member if you'd like for me to send that out tomorrow. I'll be glad to do that, what he's looking at. It was something in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000 is what he's asking for, which I think is extremely reasonable for looking at what he's got going on. And but it's a manageable number, in my opinion. I'll be glad to send that to all board members tomorrow.
Mr. Nance is here, and I ask you too. Buchanan, Christiana, they alternate weeks at Riverdale?
They do.
Do they help with the finances?
Mr. Nance can answer that better than I.
Mr. Nance, whether they help with the finances of taking care of you all take care of the field, I would guess. Lining it off, cutting the grass, painting everything. The coaches do. I see.
And a problem that Riverdale runs into because they're running 2 football programs out there is it makes it difficult for their soccer teams to get on the field, which is what's supposed to happen too. And so we have to dance around that because every Tuesday night is taken for middle school football, which means a soccer game on Tuesday night at home for Riverdale is not possible to do. So they've got to move around that a little bit, and they may not be the only one in that situation, but that's the problem you run into is soccer is also using those fields, which that's exactly what they need to do. And someone asked me that question today about what does soccer do as far as helping with the expenses at the high school when they use the soccer field. And I don't know the answer to that question. Nobody's screamed and hollered that I need to fix it, so the schools work it through, but I'm confident the high schools bear most of that expense.
Any other questions for Mr. Tackett on pools or otherwise? If not, thank you, Mr. Tackett.
Always a pleasure.
Well, always a pleasure to see you, sir.
I think I'm sitting in his old seat, aren't I?
Well, it's just by pointing out to you what you already know, and that is that swimming, like everything else, it's a matter of growth. We grow everywhere, and eventually we outgrow ourselves, I guess. Number 11, Mr. Director, Rutherford County Career and Tech Education.
This is the adoption of textbooks for Rutherford County Career and Technical Education. They adopt a few each year. This is one of the larger ones they do. Theirs is kind of spread out a little more. Rutherford County Career and Technical Education Textbook Committee would like to recommend approval of the following career and technical education instructional materials for use in CTE courses beginning July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2023. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the following career and technical education instructional materials for use in CTE courses beginning July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2023. And you have those lists of books, titles, subjects, and publisher.
Move for approval.
Second from Mr. Young, motion by Mr. Holliday. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 12 is the insurance update. I believe that's tomorrow you meet. Anything you want to tell us tonight, or probably is nothing? Very well. Director's update. Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Do you have anything to add?
Okay. Last night covered that. Ms. Moore, anything on the TLN?
And it does look like, of course, the Memphis voucher bill is moving itself forward, so, but no other real activity since Tuesday, or yesterday, yeah, Tuesday. Messed me up here having a board meeting Tuesday and Wednesday night instead of Tuesday and Thursday.
It'll be interesting, I guess interesting is the right word, of how that legislation that eventually passes is amended, if it is, and how it's worded. I'm going to be particularly interested in a school maybe that nobody wants to take advantage of the voucher that falls under the requirements, and what's going to happen to that money. I'm very interested in that, because at one time I believe the legislation read that any student could then use it. And if that's in the bill, that's exactly the opposite of what they intended to happen. I'm going to be interested to know if that's the case, but it looks like, unfortunately, we're going to find out. Mr. Holliday, thank you, Ms. Moore. Anything on federal?
No change since last night.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. General discussion by board members on any topic other than last night's weather. I don't know about y'all, but I just barely made it home. I made it, but it was close. Nothing else? This is usually a wordy bunch, and they say nothing. Okay. Thank you so much for your input. You know, when you see these youngsters here, and from Roy Walden and then the Riverdale girls tonight, basketball team and everything, when somebody asks you, well, why did you teach all those years? Or why in the world would you ever want to be on a school board? All they had to do was just watch those youngsters. That's all you got to do. We're adjourned.